that all leads up to, obviously, what happened after the 49ers failed to convert 3rd and 4 with 2 minutes left.
Yep.
The Chiefs get 153. They work their way down the field. They kick a field goal to tie the game and force overtime. Fred Warner goes out for the 49ers. Patrick Mahomes goes out for the Chiefs. The coin is tossed. The 49ers win it, and they choose to take the ball at a time when, number one, the Chiefs were planning, if a touchdown had been scored, to go for 2 if they scored a touchdown, to not have that third drive in overtime, that first drive of sudden death. That was the reason given by Kyle Shanahan after the game. That's why it's important for people to be available when they haven't had a time to come up with a better explanation than whatever the truth is. The truth is more likely to surface in that moment. Why did you do what you did? Here's why I did it. When you have a couple of days to think about it, you might come up with a few other reasons. Now, I'm not saying they're not true, but there are things that weren't said at the time when it was all fresh.
Yeah, I hear you.
And there are things that you could, on reflection, and maybe it's just, I hadn't really thought it through. It was all moving pretty quickly, and I was kind of in a bad mood because we just lost the Super Bowl.
Right.
Here's other reasons why I did what I did.
Right.
So, on Tuesday, when it was Shanahan and John Lynch meeting with reporters, the question inevitably came up, and it started this way. It was sparked by this perception/reality that the Chiefs players, to a man, knew the nuances of the overtime rule and what the team's strategy was going to be if they went to overtime. And the 49ers players, based on sound from guys like fullback Kyle Shanahan, didn't know. That's how it was put to Lynch and Shanahan. Did their players know what the rules for overtime in the postseason were? Here's what they had to say.
We did say, and we told everyone as we were waiting for the coin toss, hey, review everyone with them, make sure they're sure before we go out. So we asked the position coach to do that, but no, I didn't cover it in a meeting on the Super Bowl week. I don't think that changes anything. We did it with our analytics department. We decided that going into the playoffs. I think you guys know how I've explained how I make decisions with that stuff in the past. I take all the information I can get, especially ones I haven't been in, and our analytics felt that was the best way to go. But as you guys know, I don't always just go with that. I take into account what they say, what they think is right, and then I go off my gut in the heat of battle. And I knew what they felt going into it. And when I think about that during the moments I have to make the decision, I think the type of game it was did match what they felt was the best way to do. It did seem more like a field goal game. And our defense had been out there for a real long time right before that. So I didn't feel at all to override that at the time.
Some other context, I believe we just closed, I think it was 11-play drive that we just closed the game with. And when you're playing Mahomes, you're chasing him a lot, So there's a lot of effort that's expended. I think, the context from there is you need some time to get fresh. And so all those things play into it. And those were sound decisions.
Now, I get it. One factor, defense is tired. That was something everyone else was saying on Shanahan's behalf.
What I was saying Monday morning,
Monday.
right? Yeah,
right. Something he didn't say.
Yeah.
Number two, somebody's been watching the show because a field goal game isn't some common, I don't know, maybe it is, but that's how we blurted it out the next day, and that's what Kyle said. It was a field goal game. That's a reason to stick with the predetermined plan to try to set this up so you get that third possession in overtime, that first crack at sudden death. Now, and Mahomes, third factor.
Right.
You're chasing Mahomes around. Not only is our defense tired, but we're expecting them to go back out there while they're tired and chase around Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
3 quick points.
Yeah.
3 quick points.
Yep.
And let's start here. How could you not factor into your thought process the reality that you're going to potentially put Mahomes in a position where he's got the ball and a chance to go get Super Bowl win number 3. And we've seen directly and indirectly over the past 6 years what this guy does in clutch moments. And we're going to give him that. We're going to set the table. We're going to gift wrap for him.
That's a legitimate question.
Whether
right.
we get
right
3 or 7, we're giving him an opportunity to go add to his legend. Let's
right.
not even give him the opportunity.
Right.
Let's make him go first. Let's not even gift him with a chance to go do something that adds to the legend of Patrick Mahomes. Let's try to craft the legend of Brock Purdy. Let's let him be the guy who goes out there and does these things and makes his way. And maybe as you're talking about that gut reaction, instincts based upon everything that's happened. Maybe Brock's thinking, or Kyle's thinking, well, it's not like Brock has gone out and seized this thing by the horns this game. We had some opportunities in the first half.
Right. That was another one of the reasons we brought up Monday, right? Now you got the pressure, you're down 7, and oh no, Mahomes went down. That's part of it. But I mean, the point you bring up, I think, is very real, right? I think maybe with a very short list group of quarterbacks, you might have to go, like the hell with analytics, right? The hell with my pre-plan. Now, and again, this is hard, and I still don't think Shanahan's necessarily wrong here with his decision. Like, not at all. I think we're showing there's certainly points to be made to why he played it the way he did. But yeah, the more you think about it, these type of situations, okay, we want to go in the game and be the team that gets a third. Wait, who are we playing? Oh, it's Mahomes. Oh, it's Joe Burrow. Oh, it's Stafford. Oh, it's Josh Allen. Oh, maybe forget that. We'll kick the ball off. We'll give them the ball first, right? I think that short list of guys right there, you better be careful with what your pre-plan, analytics might be in those scenarios, to your point. And again, I'm not saying Shanahan's wrong, but it's something I think that, in the future, this is the first time we've seen this, that, teams better think of those type of aspects rather than just the formula in the meeting they had the week before.
And at the risk of further angering the fine folks of the analytics community.
You're funny.
This is one of the problems you get into. Look, let's apply real-world human factors to the organizational dynamics of the 49ers or any other team when you're looking at a situation like this, okay? They pre-baked their approach to playoff overtime.
Right.
That was clear from Kyle's comments yesterday. They decided, the analytics people decided, before we get to the playoffs, we know we're going, well, hey, there's this new wrinkle. We got to be aware of it. And we've decided, after crunching all the numbers and looking at all the scenarios and considering every potential option, that the best thing for us to do, as a matter of analytics, is to take the ball.
So wait,
because we want the third possession.
The Chiefs predetermined too, right? I mean, they predetermined by all due accounts. Yeah. All right, cool. I just throwing it out there. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
But here's my point.
Right.
I'm defending Kyle.
Yeah.
So let me keep going.
Okay.
So the analytics people do what they do while Kyle's trying to coach the team. These folks in the analytics department, and I know they don't like it when I say this, but a coach with another team said this was a way into the business for a lot of people who otherwise would have no path into the business. Let's create this little sub-industry within football operations where we have relevance, where we have power, where we have influence in situations like this. We're going to crunch the numbers, and we're going to sell this internally that this is what we need to do. So when Kyle is otherwise worried about coaching the team, he's got to carve out some of his own time, apart from everything else he's got to do, to say, hey, folks, you know what? Is there a formula within the formulas that takes into account that you may have some badass quarterback who relishes the opportunity to have that second possession if we score a field goal or a touchdown and stick it up our butts? Have we taken that into account? Because there's a few guys that we should probably be willing to adjust the formula for. And I know you got a formula for everything, analytics crowd. Well, we need the Mahomes twist on this formula. We need to think about that, especially if we cross paths with him, as we will if we ever do.
Very fair
in the Super Bowl.
Right.
Now, here's the other thing that becomes a problem, okay? When you're Kyle Shanahan and you are in that moment and you've got a stew of factors that is influencing whether you're going to go along with what this subgroup of team employees who have a ton of influence because they're smarter than everybody else, just ask them, am I going to push back against them? Who do I want to have to deal with? We all got to deal with shit in our lives. Who do I want to deal with?
Sorry, Birmingham.
Do I want to deal with the questions? Thank you. Alabama and UK. Do I want to deal with the questions from the reporters who I only have to see one more time after this game? Or do I want to deal with these people who are going to be talking about me behind my back to Jed York and Parag Marathe and all these other people who are the real power brokers, Dr. York. Dr. York's going to hear it. Dr. York's the one that, kind of gave me the little shake I needed to draft Brock Purdy when I was getting caught up in football stuff. They're going to be talking about it upstairs when we do it. They're going to be talking about it after the game. They're going to be huddled in the corner at the after party. They didn't going to feel like much of a party. They're going to be on the plane talking about it. They're going to have this meeting. God, I don't want to deal with that. I'm just going to go along. I'm going to go along with what the analytics people said I should do because I don't want to deal with all this crap on the back end. You can't deny that is a real dynamic in these teams. Now that the analytics people have a foothold and they have influence and they have power, when you're making a decision that goes against what they've already told you to do, Chris,
100%.
you got to be ready to deal with a lot of crap on the back end.
Right.
That might be the real reason why he went along with it.
Hey, I mean, listen, I don't know. I've yet to talk to my buddy right after this football game. Right. All I've done is send him a text, and I haven't heard anything, and I don't expect to hear anything. But that's a very real.
I don't even know that he would be able to articulate it or be willing to say it.
I mean, your point is real. It's why a lot of the old school coaches don't love the analytics department in the building, right? Analytics were already part of the game. What do you think these teams are breaking down all this film for and putting it in certain columns and everything? It's analytics. They're when they do this, we break it down a little bit. Now, listen, there's a benefit to that. But, yeah, the problem is a lot of those guys certainly have a zero football background. And then the second thing, to your point, is the Judgment Day meeting every town that coaches have to deal with. Oh, the analytics department and the owner now are together, and they want to question you Monday after the game and go, why did you do this here? Why did you do this here? Why did you do this here? And that stuff, I mean, again, I don't know if it played a part in this one, but certainly plays a part in like what you're talking about with coaches making these decisions a lot through the NFL season.
One of the chapters in Playmakers focuses on the rise of analytics, and a general manager told me as I was gathering information and doing my research to put that together that one of the realities of analytics and the rise of analytics within football organizations is that they're in a position where it's almost like a Cyrano de Bergerac thing where they are loading up the owner with questions and comments that are posed to the coaches where coaches can no longer bamboozle owners with jargon, and the owners just sit there and don't say anything because they understand it's always better to keep your mouth shut and be perceived a fool than to open it and confirm that you don't know what you're talking about. I've bastardized the quote, but that's all right. Fool me once, shame on me.
Fool me,
the
can't
bottom
fool me
line
again.
is owners can't fool me, can't get fooled, fool me, can't get fooled again. But the owners can't get fooled again now by the coaches who are talking about double-A gap blitzes and crossing the face and all this other stuff that makes the game seem more complicated than it is.
Yep.
They've got these Ivy Leaguers with advanced degrees saying, ask him this. What about this? Ask him about this. Ask him about that. And I'm telling you, Chris, I hadn't really thought of it. This is one of the benefits of like spending 3 days focusing on one game. I really do think whether he acknowledges it or not, whether he even is aware of it or not, I really think at the end of the day, having to deal with the analytics people on the back end and all the stuff they could say about him internally when he's not around had to be a factor in deciding to go along with the plan to take the ball.
Yeah, again, I don't know how it all went down, but certainly as an aspect of coaching in the NFL right now, where there is extra pressure on the coaches to listen to that department. And yeah, there's, some tangible numbers that can prove them wrong, that they can go, wait, but, I was there on the field and this guy couldn't block this guy. And we could all feel on the sideline that like they had the momentum and we did, again, those are the things. But then, yeah, you're right. You got the analytics guy go like, nope, this number says this. And I told the owner and now we got this number, and there's just more to it than that. Hopefully this didn't affect my man, Kyle Shanahan. I doubt it did in the overall game, in the overall big picture of things, because he's such a strong personality. And at the end of the day, he is in full control there in that organization, and he usually does, what he thinks is best football-wise. But I think it's fair to certainly question that.
Well, first of all, you're in full control of the organization until you're not.
Yeah, right.
And this is
That's
the kind
true,
of
too.
thing that can become a cancer to your ability to continue to be in charge. And, the analytics crowd, this is something we've said before, but, well, if you do this 1,000 times, 502 times it'll go our way and 498 times it won't, so we got to do it this way. This is the only one time that matters, though. The other 501 don't matter, or the other 499 don't matter. This is the one time that matters. We got to make a good decision right now. We got to execute it the right way. One last point, and I didn't think it was related, but it is. We talked yesterday about the buy-in that the Chiefs had to their plan. It becomes part of the fun. The players come up with play ideas. The coaches and the players are in communication all the time. Hey, guys, here's what we're going to do. If we're going to give them the ball first, and if they score a touchdown, we trust our defense to maybe step up and not let them. But if they do, we know we're going to drive down and we're going to score. We're going for 2, baby.
Right.
We're going to do something that's never been done before. We're going all in. What do you think of that? Isn't that cool? Whereas Kyle Shanahan didn't feel the need to even, I don't need to talk about it with the players. It's a matter of analytics. And it makes you wonder if he even considers player buy-in, because he's not really buying in. He's just going along. But I do think that on that continuum of Bill Belichick, who doesn't care what anyone thinks other than himself, and Andy Reid, who understands the value of empowering people to be involved in the thought process and the decision-making and getting everyone on board with what you're doing. On that continuum, Kyle Shanahan was way closer to Belichick than Reid, because nobody even knew what their plan was. No one in the locker room knew what their plan was. You're coaching a team here, a team of players. And I think, Chris, this does go back to the idea that they treated it more like, a laboratory experiment, something theoretical and not something practical.
Yeah.
And if it's truly practical, if there's something there you can get your arms around, you get your players excited about it too, like the Chiefs did.
Yeah, I hear you there. And I think that's a valid point. It's something that, as we go on, those are things you got to think about a little bit. It's new. It's new to the league, right? The Chiefs maximized the opportunity and we're ready for it. The 49ers, didn't really take advantage of the opportunity, and it seems like kind of just went by the numbers, right? And I think at the end of the day, that's why we're all sitting here evaluating it. And I think the numbers, blah, 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 and all of that, you got to think of them differently when there's greatness on the other sideline at the quarterback. The Bradys, the Mannings, the Mahomes, whatever. You get to that crew of guys, I don't give a shit what your formula is. You better rethink and have a feel of the game and in the moment. Right. Sorry, Manchester.
So, bottom line, to put it all in a nutshell before we take a break, and this is the second day in a row that we've consumed nearly a full hour. Yesterday we went over an hour. We'll get there.
You're like a child. You're like a child. You're like so happy every day. You're like, oh, look, we got to a full hour in the segment. You love it. I've never seen anybody giggle more about it.
I love to put future Florio in bad spots, whether it's staying up till 2:30 or whether it's consuming the first hour of a program, knowing that we're going to have to scramble to get 6 segments in the second
Courtney
hour.
in the background
is
telling you to shut up and get to this next segment.
It came down to this. Your buddy Kyle Shanahan would rather deal with annoying headlines from me than deal with having to worry about someone from that analytics group trying to stick a knife into his back in dealing directly with ownership. That's it. In a nutshell, that's why he went with the plan. He'd rather be criticized by us or others in the media than be sabotaged by people in the building. Plain and simple. And coaches definitely are worried about that, because when they're out there in the fray doing the job, everybody else is huddled up in the suite and they're whispering. Oh, he did. Oh, he should have done this. Oh, he should have done that. And that whispering can continue, and it can spread, and it can grow. And the next thing you know, the head coach is no longer the head coach of the team. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.